G'day guys, and welcome back to Comics to Movies and More. I am your host, Sean Keenan, and as always, I have the most wonderful Stephen with me. I keep doing it the wrong way all the time, mate. How you going?
I'm good. Look, I'm not going to spoil it in case people are going to watch it afterwards, but man, it's a really, really good Australian Open right now. It's because they're Nadal and Medvedev, they're both good return of service. They're having rallies, 40 shot rallies, 20 shot rallies. It's a hell of a game. So
I know. I was been watching it, going, "Oh my god!" I was hoping that this would be a nice, quick one before the show started, but it looks like it's going to be an all nighter. The way it's going at the moment. So
again, not going to spoil this any of the scores, but man, like I think there was one game, something like 12, 13 minutes. So it's like, oh gosh, it's
right.
it's exciting.
It is.
I have it in the background just so that if I ever glance or look really glazed, it's because I'm watching it. The scores tick over live on Google. So
I was going to say, if you hear someone screaming in the background, that's my mum. She's staying over, and she's watching it in the next room. So if you hear any yelling, that's just my mum screaming for Nadal. So, but as always, guys, if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button and smash that notify button. We go live each Sunday night. We've got an awesome show tonight. We're going to be talking about the movie Pathfinder. We've got a great Melbourne guest in Mikey Scott, who's got an awesome series coming out called Shieldbreaker. We're going to be talking about cross promotions and what to kind of the do's and don'ts in regards to cross promotions for Kickstarter. So we've got a massive show. But before we bring out our guests, let's say hello to the people in the chat. So Moira, good morning. It's evening for us, but yes. Grace, hello. Grace, I can tell you I got a notification that your package arrived in Singapore today. So fingers crossed you get that in the next couple of days, which will be great. Darren, hey, Darren, you must be up late working, I'm guessing. Well, he's definitely not watching the tennis. That's that's all I can say. So, yeah, and Sazagal, hey, if there's anyone else that's in the chat, say hello. Yeah, man, deep man, how you going? I hope you're having a good weekend. Yeah, it's been a really busy another week for me. I've finally got out the last packages of XCT monsters, which is fantastic, and we've been working hard. We've got all the colors for volume 2 for Fractured Shards, so that's been great. I know that we've added a bunch of work onto your listing, getting those lettered, and we've got a bunch of other stuff going on, which is fantastic. Can't talk about that yet, but yeah,
there's still more people to say hi to if you want to keep scrolling down.
Oh, more. Oh, wow. Okay, Antonio, how you going, man? That is amazing. And we have Matt. Hello from Germany. Oh, wow. Hey, Matt, that is absolutely awesome. And Grace said, yes, got the same email, though there's holidays coming, so not sure if I'll get it before. Okay. Always sucks. And hey, here we go.
There's one more.
Peer pressure, guys. Hi. Hey, Jackie.
Hey, Jackie.
Hope you're doing well. So we're going to bring out our guest. He is an awesome writer, artist, do everything himself, comic creator. His name is Mikey Scott. He is a Melburnian creator, and he has an awesome new series. But we will bring him out and we will talk about the movie Pathfinder before we dive more into his series and what he has coming up. Hey, Mickey, how you going tonight, mate?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm pumped to be here.
Oh, thanks for coming on the show, man. I know it was a little bit of a late notice for me sending out the invite to this, so I appreciate you making the time.
That's how we roll. Just pull the trigger and go.
That's it. That's it. I did like that you did say to me, I confirmed with the girl that it was okay that I could come on. I was like, oh, that is so me. I'm like, I say yes to something and then I'm like, honey.
No, man, we're supposed to be here at this time.
Yeah, that's always the way. But before we get into your series, Shieldbreaker, and a little bit more about you, I picked this movie because I love it, but I thought it also fitted into the kind of genre that your book is in. But the movie Pathfinder, what did you think of the movie Pathfinder with Karl Urban?
As a classic. It's one of Carl's best roles. It's a great piece of fluff, man. It's right up there with Conan the Barbarian. It's gritty and it's nasty and it's flashy and fun. Yeah, it's got everything.
It came out after 300. Like this was and I do remember watching it, and I didn't rewatch it this week, but I thought in terms of the artistic part of it, I think they missed the mark. And I think you're both going to hate me for this, but it's way too dark. It's the whole plot, as you know, is Vikings coming to America. While 300 had that whole Greek aesthetic that you had the feel to it, and it was a little bit over the top because it was a story being retold. So that's why Xerxes was 6 foot tall and all the rest of it. Because I can't remember the guy's name, but the Australian David Wenham, the guy with the missing one eye in 300, he was retelling that story. This one wasn't a retelling of a story, and I found it, especially in an Native American setting, it was dark forest. It was black. I think they chose the wrong color palette for it.
The reason that they, sorry, man.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah.
The reason that they chose the color palette they did is because it's the color palette in the original graphic novel.
Oh, okay. I have to admit, I didn't read the original graphic novel, so...
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of people don't realize that this was a graphic novel before it was a movie. And I always use this one when I try to explain to people, as well as the old guard that's on Netflix, in regards to going, there are graphic novels out there that are not superhero graphic novels. There are really cool stories and universes and all that don't have to be based on a superhero. And I think this, I really enjoyed this one, but I 100% agree, and that's what I was going to say as well. Is I think they picked the aesthetic because that was what the graphic novel is, and this image itself is lends very much to what the graphic novel looks like and everything like that. But I don't know if you've been to America, Stephen, but there are quite a lot of dark forests and that over there.
I do understand that, but it feels much more European aesthetic. When you talk about dark forest, you think about the German forest, where everything is covered. In America, it's not. You think something different. Like you go to the redwoods, it's light filtering through. It's that soft light. And I'm more than happy to concede. And Shaun, you're not going to get very many of these from me. I'm more than happy to concede that if it followed the source material, which I never knew there was a source material for this, to be fair, I'm happy to concede then the director followed, what was true to it. But when I first watched it, I was going, this didn't feel like America, because the trees are meant to be bigger. You meant to play up a lot of things. Like for example, whenever you do something, although you didn't feel Americanish, that the Vikings came there, and I'll ask the source material as well. Were the Vikings that large? Were they larger than life in the source material? Were they? Like you can see it from the picture, the guy is like double the size. Was that the same? Was the Viking aesthetic the same as well?
There's a lot to unpack in that. Yeah. If I might jump in, Shaun.
Oh, I want to hear this. Yeah.
So when you're picking a color palette for something, yes, there's communicating setting, but I think the color palette on this both the graphic novel and the film is an expression of the mood of the story. And the mood of the story is the murkiness and the depression of this character and the journey that he's going through. And I think that that's what the very dark and blue color palette of the film is trying to express. As for the Vikings being so large, look, there's a lot of skeletal analysis throughout history of the different sizes of people. You know, if you look at ancient Greek helmets, the original finds are quite small. Like, you wouldn't be able to put it on, and that's their skulls were smaller. They were smaller people. And all of the written material that's extant from the early medieval period does describe that the Norse people were constantly referred to as being large. They were taller. And it's only by a little bit. It's like, you know, everyone who's that much taller than you is a giant. You know, if you're like,
but if you've got 60 guys that are that much taller than you, all of a sudden they look like they're a foot taller than you.
Look,
because
if you're 5-0 and you come up against a guy who's 5'11", he's a giant to you.
Yeah.
And it's not just that he's going to be a head taller than you. A head taller means bigger arms, bigger legs.
And then even on top of this, a lot of this is then again extenuated from like the size of their armor. So, you know, you've got the Native Americans that are wearing next to no sort of armor, or no armor at all. It's really just skins and that type of stuff, where you've got another guy that, you know, even looks even bigger again because he's got, you know, big shoulder pads and a massive helmet and everything. So but I agree. I think the color palette as well it gives that real big foreboding feeling, like, you know, something is coming and all that. Because really, the only bright scenes in this movie is the small part of when he's like kind of happy at that very beginning of the story. You know, otherwise, pretty much, you know, from the time he lands when he gets left there, it's very dark to the end type of thing. But yeah, I just really, for myself, I've had this on my watch list to go back and watch again for a while. So I have to say this was a little bit of like an indulgent one to go, okay, I'll watch this one and I'll use it as an excuse for putting it on this week's show type of thing. But as I mentioned before, like if you haven't seen or read the graphic novel is fantastic. I'd actually watched the film and gone back and read the graphic novel because I knew afterwards that this was based on a graphic novel. But yeah, it's a great, fun story. You know, the other one I'd love to talk about sometime is the 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas. That's like another.
That was the same year, wasn't it? That was the same year.
No, that's like a decade earlier.
That's old. Yeah, the 13th Warrior. What's
90 something?
Yeah, it's in the 90s. I reckon.
Really enjoyed that one.
1999.
Also,
8 years ago. 8 years difference. Yeah, you're right. As almost a decade.
It's completely not fair to criticize Pathfinder on authenticity. That's not fair at all. Pathfinder has 0 authenticity points. Look at this ship. What is that? And what is his helmet? What's he doing?
Oh no, I don't mind creative licensing.
It's all creative.
I don't mind that. Like 300 was lots of good fun, and that's why I picked 300 rather than 13 Warriors as a comparison. But yeah, look, what you said makes sense, and I'm really happy to see the point because I'm happy to educate. Mainly because I didn't know the source material, and I'm actually really, really happy when they do adapt stuff and they adapt it faithfully.
Yeah. Well, now I feel a little silly, Stephen, because someone in the chat has actually said that the comic was actually based on a Norwegian film from 1987.
Oh gosh.
Let's do it. Let's go watch it.
Novel, and of course they've Americanized it. So I did not even know that, so I'll have to go back and have a sticky nose at that. So there are some really good Viking Norwegian films. I don't know if people have seen Ragnarok on Netflix. It's subtitled, but that is a really cool series type of thing. This is why me and Mickey get along so well. We've got very similar tastes in shows, so I felt like it was nice to have someone to back me up, Stephen, rather than stare me down.
I should have started with I really did enjoy the film, but I like to be a bit of a devil's advocate to pick a little bit at it. But like I said, it's not going to win an Oscar, but if you plug down and watch it, man, it's 2 hours. You can turn your brain off and just enjoy it. I did get some research. It's called Pathfinder as well. It's also called Pathfinder. Yeah, sorry.
And it was called Pathfinder, was it?
Correct. It's also called Pathfinder.
Okay. I was going to say, can Grace put the IMDb link down in the comments?
Yes. I'll have to go and check that out now. So, yes, I love this. And Mickey, this is a bit of a joke. Still from trauma. We did a review of The Princess Bride. I admitted that I'd never seen it before, so I watched it for the first time before coming into the show. And my opinion was not very well
received.
Well received, yes.
Not in the slightest.
Yeah, so I kind of got a lot of shit hung on me for bagging the hell out of it. So, but that was just my opinion.
That happened to me. And what's that one with Val Kilmer and the little person?
Oh, Willow?
God, I hate that film.
I love that film. They're making a new series on that.
Oh, good luck, guys. Good luck.
That's the first thing we haven't agreed about.
Yeah. Did you like The Princess Bride, Mickey?
Yeah, but I think I liked it based on peer pressure. I saw it when I was 15 or 16, and all I was interested in was girls, and a girl said she liked it, and I'm like, I'm in.
Oh, and hey, Zach, thanks for joining the chat as well.
Yes, yeah. There's not a huge amount, I feel, of like Vikings movies out there, and a lot of the times I feel like or I should say blockbuster Viking films, they always seem to be very, B grade, low budget films, and this one, I like. It had a really good budget and everything for this one. Karl Urban. I guess he wasn't a massive actor back then, but he's such a good actor. I thought all of the actors in this were really good, and it's funny how there's been since now there's been quite a few. TV series, like you've had The Last Kingdom, you've had Vikings with Travis Fimmel, you've now got the spin-off of Vikings that is coming out.
Spin-off? Oh, God.
What'd you say?
I said they got a spin-off? How did they get a spin-off?
Oh, so they've just jumped forward 100 years. And it follows like a bunch of new Vikings. So supposedly, I think, don't quote me on this, but the lead character is supposed to be on Eric the Red, who pretty much took over all of England and supposedly went to America as well. So he was one of the first Vikings, supposedly to have gone to North America. So it looks kind of cool. They're back in France, ransacking France again. Always got to love that. But there's another one that I can't think of at the moment, but it's got the guy out of True Blood and Battlefield, the really good-looking, tall, blonde guy.
Is this the new movie, The Northman?
The Northman, yeah. Yeah, I think it's just called The Northman.
This is the first one in a long time to look half decent.
Yeah. I agree. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that, and we'll do a review on that at some stage. So anyway, I enjoyed it. Mickey enjoyed it, and did you enjoy it, Stephen?
I did. Like I said, I'm being very picky, but it's like, oh, by the way, I put the link into the chat if you ever want to read about the 1987 film, which I never knew existed.
Read about it. I'm watching it.
Yeah, it got an Academy Award nod. Yeah, it got a nomination. Academy Award nomination, this film.
No. Did it
That's
really?
outstanding.
Yeah. Best foreign film. It didn't win, but it got the nod. It got the nomination.
There we go.
That's what counts.
Yeah,
Being in the game.
Let's
it must be half decent.
Can you put in the BitTorrent link? I mean,
we do not advocate.
We do not.
Support the artists, support the creators.
We don't advocate piracy, just Vikings, which is a completely different thing, right?
That's right. We hate pirates. Johnny Depp, go away.
You and your Hollywood vampires.
That's it. Isaac, it's only really Greek and Roman, sometimes Egypt, get a decent run to film. Yeah, I know. I don't know why it's why the Vikings, I guess because it seems to be a fairly easy, low budget film to make. I don't know. I just feel like, you could easily do a gladiator story with a Viking. And I reckon that would be kind of cool. There's Celts and Vikings and all that around that time. So I reckon there's heaps of different, stories you can kind of do, and not make them always be the bad guys. I feel like they always seem to be made out to be the bad guys. Where if you actually research their culture was actually more progressive in regards to women's rights and all those type of things than a lot of the Western ways. So,
that's where we get to a really important point, which is one of the key points in my writing, which is that the word Viking is not a cultural word. It's an occupational word. It's a job. It's a thing that you do. It's builder. I'm a builder, you're a Viking. And you might not be a Viking for your entire life. You might do it for a summer. But that job is very specific. Viking and warrior are two separate jobs. They intersect. They are sometimes the same thing, but they are not always the same thing. The job of being a Viking is very specifically cutting out the middleman of having a fair fight against another army and ransacking a civilian population for the purpose of taking their treasure and enslaving a portion of their population. So if the character is specifically a Viking, they are the bad guy. Hands down, they are the bad guy. But not all Norse people were Vikings. They were a very small segment of the population. Even if you were a warrior, you might not have been a Viking.
I think that's a great segue into your series, type of thing, because I think that's the great thing about good storytelling, as well as, like anyone that knows me, all of my, series are based on mythology or history or ancient cultures or historic cultures and stuff like that. And, the one thing I love is doing that research and kind of, breaking down that knowledge that I thought I knew of, like what the word Viking meant and all that type of stuff by going back and doing some research. And, I've just popped up your pre-launch page, which is for your book, Shieldbreaker. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about this series and kind of how you got into telling a Viking story?
Okay, so how I got into it is a good place to start. In my early 20s, I got into reenactment. I got into what we call experimental archaeology. So, the public saw the side of it where we dress up and go hit each other with swords. But it was really an experiment in the archaeological record says these people at these time used these particular items in this particular way. Okay, well, let's make a replica and let's try to do that. So whether it was they used these types of swords and these types of axes and these types of shields to fight with, and they supposedly did it in these kinds of ways, maybe. Okay, well, let's get a bunch of replicas together. Let's strap them on and let's have at each other and have some sparring. We'll do some training. We based all of our training on leftover or extant manuscripts from 15th century Germany. There were a lot of fight masters who wrote books during that time that are left over, and it has all of their imagery on how to fight. I went into too much detail. The point is, all through for about 10 years there, I was doing this experimental archaeology thing, and I learned a lot about the late Viking era in Scandinavia and Eastern Europe. And I learned so much really, really fascinating material knowledge about their culture, that what their clothing looked like and how they made it and how they decorated all aspects of their physical world and why they did that. And I learned a lot about their cultural practices. And being a martial arts guy myself, I learned a lot about fighting, and I tried to bring that knowledge into the book. I really wanted to do these fight scenes that had that displayed a good fighter, not just someone who slashed everyone to pieces, but he binds and he does good things in a fight, and try to bring that to life in an exciting way on the page. So yeah, that's how I wanted to bring a Viking story to the page. Was I was kind of not doing the making and trying so much, and I had all this knowledge and all these ideas, and so the comic became my expression of all my reenactment experience of 10 plus years and all the people that I had met and talked to over that time.
Can I question you about the fighting? Because I'm actually interested in that component of it, mainly because a lot of film or whatever, they really depict fighting incorrectly. And I think it's back to the 80s movies, Jean-Claude Van Damme, one kick and the guy hits the guy, flies through two doors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've done that.
oh wow, I'm totally wrong here. I'm just. But what makes, especially like the Romans, for example, they fought in formation. That's why they did so well. The English archers, they used the longbow a lot. That's how come they fought so well. The Mongols used horseback riding. They could shoot right away, shoot, and win that way. What was the methodology of the a Viking fighter? What did they do that was so cool? And did they have any tactics that worked? Look, I honestly don't know. I'm happy to hear what they did to make them so ferocious.
They did what literally every culture on the planet has done at one point in its time, which is spear and shield. If you get a large shield that covers most of you, 300, the phalanx, they just did that.
Okay.
Literally every culture on the planet has done that exact same tactic. A shield that covers you from shoulder to knee, stand next to a guy, cover each other, use a big pointy stick. Boom.
Fantastic.
Their advantage could have been that they were bigger and stronger, could have been a particularly martial culture. At that time in history, like for a lot of cultures, civil defense relied on what they called a fjord, which is a levy being called up of free men. We're going to be under attack, or we're under attack. All the free men are required by law to own and maintain war gear. Strap it on and let's get together. So if you're living in a culture where it is a reality that at some point in your life you may have to fight in a war, which that law, if you're a free man, you must own and maintain war gear. well, then that's a reflection of the reality that it is possible in your lifetime you will have to fight. So part of owning and maintaining war gear is maintaining your skill set to use it. So it's quite possible that they practiced fighting from a young age.
Okay.
We don't know, but it is possible.
Yeah, the other one I liked was when I was doing some research on Viking berserkers and how that, they would kind of almost give them like this drug prior to it. And they were saying that they weren't necessarily, the best fighters. But when someone's coming at you with barely any clothes on, like absolutely looking crazy, going they're going to chop your head off, there's that intimidation factor there that I guess a lot of other kind of cultures didn't kind of have a lot of the English ones at the time was we lined up fairly on a battlefield, and you had your shot and we had our shot, and then we kind of came and met in the middle, and that where Vikings use more of that guerrilla warfare, and were more than happy to kind of use tricks and other aspects there, or use the surroundings to their advantage much more than I feel like the English and everything kind of did during that time, especially for people that had come into a country and not don't know the country off by hand. But all of those battles I found quite interesting, especially against the King of Wessex and everything. That was quite interesting. So,
well, everything that you're talking about though is exactly how Alfred fought them back. Alfred used guerrilla tactics. Alfred hid in the marshes. He used the landscape to his advantage.
And that's what I love about the Last Kingdom. Kind of hinting at the fact that he, used a Viking confidant to use their own tactics against him. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But you're 100% right. It's like he ended up, and all the other kings were like, "Oh, we're not going to do that because that's not proper and that's not right." Well, you're getting your ass handed to you, mate.
I don't know. I think that's the way they just decided to tell that story. I'm not a history guy so much as I'm an authenticity guy. So history is this person, this time, they did that. Authenticity is the material cultures, the things. And that's my expertise. I'm not an expert on history.
So what is the story Shieldbreaker about? Give us a bit of a synopsis about what this series is about and what it entails.
Yeah. In a snapshot, we center it around two characters. There's Uli the Shieldbreaker and Tura, which it's an awkward pronunciation, but that is how I think the authentic pronunciation of it is from the time. Tura. It's a female declension of the god Tur. So Uli the Shieldbreaker is the greatest warrior in the kingdom. He is obsessed with being the greatest warrior of all time. He makes a deal with Freya to bind his soul to his sword with the thought, if I become one with my weapon, I will be stronger and faster than anyone has ever been. And it does work, but when he finally dies, his soul is trapped in that sword forever. 100 years after his death is when Tura comes in. She finds that sword on a battlefield, and as she's about to get her head caved in, it's his ghostly hand coming out of that sword that guides her to safety, and the journey begins from there.
That's very cool. Well, I threw the pre-launch link in the chat, and we've already had a few people click the pre-launch button. Isaac said, "Is it available yet?" I'm intrigued. There is a pre-launch page for a Kickstarter that Mickey is doing soon. When are you looking to launch that Kickstarter?
Early February, probably the 1st of Feb, unless
we get
sort of. I know, right? I honestly was umming and ahhing for ages, going, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I thought, hey, man, don't know what you're doing? Pull the trigger and go. If you don't know what you're doing, just dive in the deep end. Hell, that's why I've done this entire thing, man. I originally wanted to be an artist and do other people's scripts, and I couldn't find a good writer to collaborate with. So I was like, all right, pull the trigger and go. I'll write my own story.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because, you know, Kickstarter can feel quite daunting. It's like, where do I start and what do I do and everything. And what we always say is that, you know, you can give it a go. If you don't make your goal the very first time, that's not a setback. That's not a, you just take what you learnt and you do the next one. Like, you know, Stephen and I, between the two of us, have done over 30 projects, but even we, after every single Kickstarter we do, go back and look and go, okay, what could have I done different? You know, how could have I done that? Where can I improve? Where did I do well? And how do I replicate that? But, you know, it all comes from pulling that trigger. Like, if you don't pull that trigger at the beginning, then all of that other stuff doesn't matter, because you're not going to find out that other stuff unless you pull that trigger. So I love that that's your you know, kind of mentality around it. So now Moira's from Scotland, so she says, sounds like a Scottish Highlanders. Frighten the enemy. So which is great.
I like to think I get a different reaction from pulling my kilt up, but hey.
Yeah. Isn't that what Spartacus did against the Romans? Yes. Well, he used their own, I guess, tactics against them. So he knew that they would fight in formation. So he was able to use the terrain and everything to vastly beat numbers outside of what, you know. I think it was at one stage he had only 2,000 warriors and bet 30,000 Roman soldiers, and that was by, you know, funneling him through a chasm, and then got guys just to push rocks down the chasm, which then split up their formation, and then kind of just come through. And, you know, gladiators in close combat are far better fighters than Romans that actually need protection and everything. So yeah.
I did share something if you want to bring it up as well. And this is back to the other point, because while you guys were talking, I was doing a bit of research. So 100% correct. They like their big shields and they like their pointy sticks. So it's fascinating. Like I learn something new every day. So
well, you got another one there, mate. Oh, yep, I want this. So
Thanks.
And then you got to love this, mate, when people are like, well, click that link.
Yeah, that's the game. I like that. I'm very happy. Thanks, man.
So do you have any artwork to show us? Because I'm chomping at the bit as well. So is there something you can show us? And you can share your screen. And
do I hit the share button down the bottom here? That would make sense.
Yeah, that's it.
I'll stop my share, and it's all yours.
All right. Oh my God, that's things.
So I have to say I've got a couple of additions here myself. So I met Mickey at Melbourne Oz Comic Con late last year. I absolutely love his art style. So anyone that knows me, I am a stickler for good art in what I read and what I support. And to say Mickey's style is not phenomenal would be an absolute understatement, and we can show you exactly what we're talking about. So let me make this.
Is this coming through?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So these are the black and white inks for issue 2, which is kind of the real story. I'm going to be doing some rearranging of everything from what you've read, Shaun. Because like, if you've read it, this is the real story. Like, what I've got currently is issue 1 is backstory. Let's face it. Like,
well, so I loved it, mate. I loved it. So I find it funny, and I guess sometimes we're our own worst critics.
Right.
But this artwork, mate. I love this. So
Thank you, man. Artwork has been a really fun journey in the process of learning a lot about storytelling. One of the first lessons was, I haven't left enough room in this panel for letters. Where do I put the speech bubbles? I'm covering up people's faces. And then you learn about line weights. When I printed the first one, I noticed that I had line weights that were too fine. People's faces were hard to read. So I worked with my printers. They were kind enough to do test pages for me, and I worked out what my minimum line weight actually was. And I learned a lot about scene construction and about how to draw better. And so, yeah, when I go back to those first 9 to 10 pages of issue 1, I have a hard time looking at it.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I was speaking to my mate Brad Van Geese, who did Tell Us a Sparta, and I've seen a lot of pages for issue 2, and he's now going back to issue 1. He's like, oh, dude, like I really want to go back and do XYZ pages because I'm just not happy with them. I said, look, you know, at the moment they're fine. But down the track, if you want to change it when we collect them all together, then you can definitely do it. Now, Moira, I'll let you answer this one. Is the new editions of these books, are they going to be coloured, or are they still going to be black and white?
They are going to be coloured. That's what the Kickstarter is about. I've done 2 issues completely out of my pocket, and that has run me dry. It's been great. I got some great accolades from industry people about having the cojones to do that. But I'm at the point now where I need some help in order to get it colored. So the original Ashcan black and whites will be up as rewards for Kickstarter backers. But the whole point is we are now moving into full color, which was always my intention. If you've just seen from my art style, it's drawn with the intention of color telling part of that story.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, this is a good Kickstarter tip for our last little bit of the show. Will there be a draw-in reward in the Kickstarter?
Look, it's possible. I haven't done it yet because I have so much work on my plate with this series that to put in a reward tier that requires me to put extra work in that I may not have the hours to do, it's not fair to the backer.
I can give one advice for that one. I can give one advice for that one. If you have one panel, for example, where there's a big crowd scene, where, maybe in a bar, tavern, or whatever it is, where it doesn't really matter too much, it won't influence the story. What I usually say is leave that panel undone. So you've done the main characters at the front, the background hasn't been drawn in. So when the backers basically pick up, hey, look, you got 3 or 4 drawn-in characters, chuck them all on tables, drinking the background. Maybe one of them's the bartender, maybe one of them's serving the beer. It doesn't matter. It doesn't influence the story because you have that one panel which doesn't affect the story. And then when they flick to the page, you go, oh my God, I'm in here. I'm in this panel. And the thing is, it doesn't break anything you need to do, and it still gives you the opportunity. And the thing is, it's limited. Like, you can't put 50 people in there, so you limit the reward to say, look, I can only draw in 1, 2, 4 slots. 4 people I can draw in. If you pay the money, we'll complete the panel. And then you can come back and complete the panel. And and you know how everything was done in layers and everything. You can get the colorist to come back and go, hey, look, can you just finish this last panel off for me? So that it won't hold up the project as well. So something to consider if you haven't thought about it yet.
Thank you.
Yeah, now Isaac also, he's a creator as well. So he's like, I did the same thing. I just went over my original 3 issues and wanted to change a lot. I think it's natural. Like, I even look at the first issue of XCT and how that was written, and I'm just like, oh, so cringy. Like, the lines that I used and everything like that. You can tell that, I didn't have a good grasp on my characters and the language or how I wanted them to kind of speak. And it's like that, just that cliche, movie line that I've kind of used or chucked in there, type of thing. So, but I've gone back, re-edited that, added a couple of pages and redone it. And even now I'm like, I would still like to change this and edit this. I just think that that's part of the creative journey, type of thing. But again, like going back to where you say like pulling the trigger, like you're never going to be, I feel, 100% happy with everything that you put out. But at some stage, you have to pull that trigger and go, okay, I'm going to get it out into the world, or else you're just never going to put anything out, type of thing. So
100%. And the conversation that we have in this household constantly revolves around, if I can do it better, do the next thing better. That's out in the world. Let's get something else out in the world. My partner is constantly like pulling me up. You can't edit that. You're not allowed to edit that. Go work on the next thing now. Yes, yeah.
I like that. Having that strong supportive force behind you also helps. But the Kickstarter stuff that we wanted to talk about tonight was like cross promotions, especially this being your first Kickstarter, and how you can use them to really impact and help your Kickstarter be successful. So the one thing that I look at is start having a look through Kickstarters now and see what Kickstarters are live that fit into your same genre. So are there other historical books that are on Kickstarter at the moment? Is there any books on Vikings at the moment? Is there any really adult content books on at the moment? And start reaching out and having a look at their campaigns, seeing how successful they are, getting some ideas from that. But then when you go live, reach out to them and go, hey, I've got my book, really like yours. Would you like to kind of do a cross promotion? You share my project, I share your project, and we try and reach a broader audience. So, because that's the main goal, is being able to reach a large audience. You'll be able to bring in, friends, family, and people that know about Shieldbreaker already. But it's about how do you go about expanding and getting more people to get eyes on your project.
Oh, definitely. And the other thing would be is just talk to them. Most of them are other creators, and most of them are basically just normal people. You can just say, hey, look, I like what you've done. Can you take a look at mine? And the other thing which a lot of people also do is try to, what they call, Kickstarter runs on algorithms. And getting the right algorithms right gives you exposure. So what they always recommend is basically, if you can get, especially the first 2 days, all your friends and families to get that back account as high as possible on the first 2 days. So if anybody asks, I want to support your project, you can go, please pledge early, please pledge, and a lot of Kickstarters even do early bird rewards to try to get people to pledge early. The reason for pledging early is you get the back account up. Back account up means Kickstarter sees, oh my God, this is a popular project, hits the algorithms higher, gives you more exposure. And it's a positive spin cycle. If you get more people looking at it and it's a good project, more people are back. Your back account goes up higher. Kickstarter goes, oh my God, it's good algorithms. It's a positive spin cycle. But if people are backing late, it's a negative spin cycle because, Kickstarter says nobody's backing this project, or very few people are backing this project. I'm not going to push it up my algorithms. I'm not going to let more people see it. It gets pushed down. Less people see it. Less people back. So if you have your support network of family and friends, my best advice is pledge early, and even offer incentives for people to pledge early. Whether it's if you pledge within the first 48 hours, you get an extra trading card or whatever it is. It is actually a lot of people do that, incentivized to do that, and it works. It really does work because the first 48 hours, you should get about the bulk
30%.
of it, 30-40%
Yeah.
of your funding
Yeah.
within that, and that's what you're targeting to. If you don't, not saying you can't reach the end, it's the hardest slog to
It's
reach the end.
hardest, but yeah. So with Kickstarter, if people don't know, the first 48 hours you should get between 30 to 35% of your funding. Between day 3 and the last 48 hours, you should get between 70 and 75% of your funding. Or up to 70 to 75% of your funding. And then again, in the last 48 hours, you should get that final 25 to 30%. So you need to really keep an eye on, looking in regards to going, okay, how much am I looking to raise? How many backers do I need to raise that amount of money? And trying to, really get that in the first 48 hours, do your promotion, cross promotions during that other period, and then really hammering it home on those last 48 hours. But the other cross promotion thing I was going to talk about, and I don't know whether you've already thought about this. Now, with single issues, the great thing that you can do is, maybe do an advert or something like that. So cross promote either someone else's book, or you can do paid advertising in regards to maybe a comic book store or something like that, in regards to helping them get the word out. So I'll put your store in my comic if you can tweet about it, or send a Facebook message about it 4 or 5 times in these 20 days or something. So that's another really cool cross promotion idea that I've used before on my single issues type of thing. So do you have any ideas of what you're going to do for your project in regards to cross promotion?
I am learning from you guys.
Yeah.
Like I said at the start of this, I was bogged down in that I don't know what I'm doing land. So I just figure I'll learn to swim by jumping in.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if you join a few, I know we're in the Melbourne comic book group, on Facebook. Those groups are really good at, getting a lot of information very quickly. So, if you just pop up a question and say, hey, this isn't working, what can I do? And you'll just get loads of people. Now, some will be really good information, some will be really bad information. You just got to kind of filter through that and kind of work out what works best for you.
It's the internet. Come on, if you post something up, you're gonna get smart asses going, you know what, you should know that, you're an idiot. You always will. So you just let those ones just go, you know what, I'm not interested. But it's the internet. You gotta expect a couple of those comments.
And this is a really good point as well. Like Moira is saying that the audience is really good at retweeting, sharing info on projects as well. So again, if you can get a lot of people early onto the project to back the project, then you have more of these type of people retweeting and sharing it out to their own audience. And don't be shy about asking. I feel, for me, I think the first time around, I was like, I don't want to ask someone, what happens if they say no, blah, blah. Well, I didn't ask. Well, they didn't get to say no, and they still didn't do it anyway. So, the worst thing that you can get is someone saying, oh, look, I don't retweet, or I don't blah, blah. But if someone's like, oh, look, I can't back it, but I can share it out. Well, that's just as good, because they're sharing it out to their audience, and you only need 1 or 2 people from their audience, and then 1 or 2 people from the next bit of audience, and that's where you start getting that snowball and everything like that. So, but yeah, if you're looking for some Kickstarter tips, we've done some really great little Quickstarter videos on our YouTube channel, and that's about how to set up a Kickstarter page, like what's the best way to do a comic Kickstarter page, how to do a video, and another couple of ones as well. So we try and do those regularly to kind of help people that have never done one before, or those people that are trying to up their game. So yeah.
So in our last 5 minutes, we'll open it to the chat. If you've got any last questions to our guest today, please just pop in the chat. If you want to know what Vikings were really like back then, or historical questions, pop it in. This guy is super knowledgeable, so he'll basically answer all your questions. So feel free to chuck any questions in the chat.
Either that, or he's really good at making it up on the spot.
I
do want to ask you. Before I said that we were at Oz Comic Con. That's where we met. How did you find your first convention experience?
That was actually my second, because I did OCC pop up in Sydney.
That's right. Yeah.
I liked pop up better. I had a way better reception there. I think it was weird. Like, was it just me, or out of how many thousand people walked through that door?
So supposedly, I think it was about between 15 and 20.
Okay, so let's say there was 20,000 people. 10,000 of them were interested in comic books, but they were like interested in the major Marvel and DC labels that are in movies. And then out of that 10,000, 5,000 were actually interested in reading comic books. And out of that 5,000, maybe 1,000 was interested in buying comic books that day and talking to creators, like the guys who were paid guests in Artist Alley at the top end. And then there was maybe like 75 people who actually wanted to find new and interesting comic books. And I captured 100% of that audience.
I think, and that's a topic 100% for another day. But I think there is a big difference between the title comic convention and what we kind of now call a pop culture convention, because I think you summed that up very, very good and succinctly, that just because it's called Oz Comic Con, it's not really kind of focused on comic books. It is, a very much a pop culture convention, cosplay, the entertainment side, or the pop culture side of comics and that type of thing. But I do have a great question. I do have a great question here from Jackie. Who wins between a samurai and a Viking?
Who wins between anyone? The individual wins.
Pick a side.
Come on, pick a side. Fence it. It's an easy question.
All right, cool. I'm going to go with the samurai. Simple.
Stephen, go. You?
I'm going to fence it on this. No. I'll go with the Viking, because samurai is really slow. They fight very, very slowly. And Jackie's going to hit it.
Back that up. Why do you say that they fight real slow?
So a lot of the action... man, I should have got it.
You got 51 seconds.
Oh, God. A lot of the action of the samurai is basically the sword draw. So they actually have a whole technique just based on sword drawing as to make it as quickly as possible. So when they draw the sword, they tend to, and when samurai fights other samurai, they tend to lift the blade very, very high because they want the downward angle to maximize the cut. Now, I would imagine if you fought a Viking, the samurai lifts the sword up really, really high. He's fully exposed all the way down. Samurais don't usually have metal armor. You've got a pointy spear. You just wait for the right moment and you stab. Sorry, Jackie. I have to give it a Viking.
You've convinced me. I'm going to go Viking now. I was going to go samurai, but I'm like 100% Viking now. Yeah.
We don't have the time for me to respond to all of that.
You said I think 30 seconds. So.
Yeah,
What's Grace said? Grace said, I think Vikings might overpower Samurai. It's not about power, it's about balance. No, I don't know. I'm just making that up.
Who knows who Michael J. White is?
Michael J. White, yeah, the martial artist.
Yeah, the huge African-American karate master.
Yeah,
he was asked in an interview, who would win in a fight, you or Bruce Lee? And he said, me, hands down. And the whole interview room was astonished. Like, somebody said they would beat Bruce Lee? That's unheard of. And he's like, well, look, skill is most important, but at a certain point, you've got enough skill where size matters. And my skill level is high enough that I am 4 times his size and I will crush him.
True. If you can get past that 1-inch punch.
World.
But thank you so much for being on the show, mate. I really appreciate it. Shieldbreaker is coming to Kickstarter on the 1st of February. We will love to have you back on to talk about your first experience with Kickstarter and what you've learnt and everything. That would be absolutely amazing if you could do that. But thank you everyone for attending tonight. Some really cool questions and really great interaction. We appreciate you every Sunday night spending an hour with us. Did you guys want to say anything else before we wrap up tonight?
No, but look, again to the chat. Thank you for coming in, hanging out with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. It was an awesome time. Thank you, people, for watching. Thank you for your awesome comments and questions. Thank you for the people who have already checked out the pre-launch page. I look forward to sharing a lot more with everybody.
Yes, well, we've got the pre-launch page up to 21, mate. From 17 to 21. There you go.
Everybody, say no to my puppy.
Oh,
good boy.
What a way to finish. Hey, guys, have an awesome Sunday night. Stay safe, and we will see you next Sunday night with another guest, which we're super excited. Their first Kickstarter is launching as well. So we will see you next week on Sunday night. Have a great night, guys.